And not for the first time, almost beaten by the lack of pace on serve. So victory for AlexEala.
AlexEala has arrived at the Linz Open, and she has made her presence felt in the most emphatic way possible. In her first clay court match of the 2026 season, she walked onto center court against JuliaGrabher, the local favorite, with the entire home crowd behind her, and she won. Not narrowly, not luckily, not in the kind of scrappy, uncomfortable way that leaves you wondering whether she got through more by chance than by quality. She won with dominance, composure, and a level of clarity in her tennis that told everyone watching that she did not come to Austria to survive the first round. She came here to make a statement, and that is exactly what she did. If you want to follow every step of this clay season as it unfolds, subscribe now and stay inside this community. AlexEala's story is moving fast, and each match brings something new worth talking about. You do not want to be catching up after the fact. Now, let's go through what actually happened in that match, why it matters more than just a first-round result, and what it tells us about where her game is right now, heading into what could be a genuinely historic stretch of clay court tennis. The context going into this match was important. Alex had not played a single competitive match on clay during the entire 2026 season. Her year had been built entirely on hard courts, from the early season tournaments through Indian Wells and Miami. She had shown real quality during that stretch, reaching the round of 16 at both Indian Wells and Miami, and beating some strong opponents along the way. But it had ended with a heavy loss to Karolina Muchova in Miami, a 6-0, 6-2 result that was a genuine dismantling. Then she had a handful of days at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca to prepare for clay, before flying to Austria for a WTA 500 event featuring two former champions of this specific tournament. Plenty of players in that situation would have shown some early nerves. The surface is different, the ball bounces differently, the movement demands are different. The whole rhythm of how points are constructed changes on clay compared to hard court. It would have been entirely understandable if the first few games showed some hesitation, some adjustment, some visible process of finding her footing on a surface she had not competed on at this level all season. None of that happened. From the very first point of the match, Alex looked switched on and ready. Not carefully ready, not tentatively ready, but completely locked in and operating at a level that made it clear from early on that Grabher was going to have to produce something very special to get through her. Grabher is not a pushover. She is a quality player who knows these courts, had the entire Austrian home crowd cheering her name before the match even started, and was not going to simply hand anything over to anyone. The early exchanges were competitive, and both players came out showing they were ready to fight. Alex won the first 2 points and established an early lead, but Grabher pushed back, leveled the score, and forced the first set into a genuine contest as it reached the midpoint at 3 games apiece. That moment at 3-all was where the match turned in a way that told you a great deal about AlexEala as a competitor. The crowd was behind Grabher. The momentum had shifted slightly. A player who was less mentally strong might have begun to feel the weight of that moment, the home crowd energy, the surface unfamiliarity, the pressure of a competitive score at a critical stage of the first set. Instead, Alex made a decision. She was going to take control of this match, and she was going to do it right then. What followed was a level of focused, aggressive, intelligent tennis that showed her intentions clearly. She pushed through Grabher's defense, constructed points with real intelligence, and made it absolutely clear through the quality of her play, rather than through any luck or loose errors from her opponent, that she was the better player on this particular day. She took the first set 6-4. It was a statement set. One through quality, one through mental strength at the key moment, one through the kind of clarity that separates players who are good from players who are genuinely dangerous. The second set followed the same pattern, but with even more authority from Alex. She came out of the blocks quickly, winning 3 consecutive games to put Grabher immediately on the back foot and take a commanding early lead in the set. But Grabher is a fighter, and the crowd was still pushing her on. She found something extra when it looked like Alex might pull away easily, clawed her way back into the set, and for a moment created the kind of tension that made it feel like she might genuinely force her way back into the match. Alex shut that door immediately. There was no hesitation, no moment of doubt, no sense that the tightening of the score was affecting her mentally. She simply raised her level at exactly the moment it was needed, found another gear, and closed out the second set 6-3. Dominant, convincing, controlled from start to finish. The thing that impressed people watching as much as the scoreline was how she looked doing it. This was her first clay match of the year on a surface that many had been watching carefully to see how her game would translate. The answer was clear and immediate. She moved beautifully. She slid into her shots with confidence. She constructed points in the longer, more patient way that clay demands, staying in rallies, building pressure gradually, choosing the right moment to attack rather than going for everything immediately the way you might on a faster surface. There was not a single moment in the entire match where you could point to and say she looked uncomfortable on clay or struggled with the conditions. Her game translated to this surface not just adequately, but magnificently. After the match, Alex showed the side of herself that her fans have come to know and love alongside her tennis. In her moment of victory, she was gracious. She praised Grabher genuinely and specifically, acknowledging the quality her opponent had brought to the match and the fight she had shown throughout. These were not the automatic, polite words that players sometimes produce in post-match interviews without really meaning them. She meant it. She recognized that Grabher had competed hard, and she said so with real warmth. That quality, the ability to win and remain humble and genuinely respectful of opponents, is one of the things that makes her story so compelling to follow. She is a brilliant player to watch and a genuinely good representative for what this sport can look like at its best. And then came the moment that the Filipino fans in the building will probably talk about for a long time. After the match, Alex turned to her supporters in the stands, the people who had traveled or gathered in Austria specifically to be there for her, and she thanked them in Filipino. She spoke to them in their own language, acknowledged them directly, showed them love and affection that was completely unperformed and real. She made every single one of them feel seen in a way that went beyond the usual post-match acknowledgement of the crowd. For her, the connection with the fans who have been with her through this journey is not something she performs for cameras. It is genuine. And moments like that one explain why the relationship between her and the Filipino community is so much deeper than a typical player-fan dynamic. She also told her fans to come back the next day because tomorrow, she said, everything gets bigger and more intense. And she was absolutely right about that because tomorrow, AlexEala faces Jelena Ostapenko. The significance of that second-round matchup requires some context to fully appreciate. Ostapenko is a former Linz champion. She's ranked 23rd in the world. She brings one of the most explosive and unpredictable games in women's tennis, a style built on heavy, flat hitting that can overwhelm an opponent before they have time to establish any rhythm in a match. On clay, where she has spent years developing her game and where she has won significant titles, she is a genuinely dangerous player. On paper, for a 20-year-old making her first clay appearances at this level in 2026, this would normally look like a very difficult second-round draw. But the history between these two players changes the picture significantly. When they have met before, Ostapenko came in as the established player, the higher-ranked competitor with the experience and the form advantage. The match on paper looked like a comfortable win for the Latvian. What actually happened was one of the most captivating and dramatic matches of AlexEala's young career. Alex found herself 4 points down in the first set, staring at a situation where a lesser player would have accepted that the set was lost and tried to regroup for the second. She did not do that. She fought back from that deficit with a composure that was remarkable to watch, staying calm under real pressure, playing the big points with complete mental clarity, and eventually taking that first set in a tiebreak 7-6. The second set was equally dramatic. Alex built what looked like a comfortable 4-point lead and appeared set to close things out smoothly. Ostapenko fought back, clawed her way level, and forced the tension right back into the match. Alex found her way through again, took the second set in another tiebreak, and sealed a result that genuinely surprised a lot of people watching. She then went on to beat Iga Świątek in the very next round, which tells you exactly what kind of form she was in at that point and what level she's capable of reaching when she is playing her best tennis. Ostapenko knows all of this. She goes into tomorrow's match knowing that Alex has beaten her before, knowing that the momentum from today's performance is firmly with her opponent, and knowing that the Filipino crowd in the building will once again be creating an atmosphere that feels like a home match for Alex in a foreign country. That is a significant amount of psychological weight to carry into a match against someone who is clearly playing with real confidence right now. Look at the form Alex is bringing into this second round. She was dominant against Grabher today, without a single moment of uncertainty. She moved beautifully on clay. She showed composure at the moments when the match could have gone either way. She closed things out without hesitation. That is not the profile of a player who is going to be rattled by the occasion tomorrow. That is the profile of a player who has arrived at this tournament ready to compete with the best and fully capable of doing it. Ostapenko will come with her own intentions. She will want to show that what happened between them previously was not a true reflection of the gap between them, and that she is better equipped this time around. She has the surface knowledge and the experience that comes from years of clay court competition at the highest level. None of that should be dismissed. This is going to be a proper contest. But the weight of the evidence right now points toward Alex. The preparation was specific and serious. The first match was convincing and comfortable. The historical head-to-head gives her confidence. The crowd will be there again in full force, and she's 20 years old, playing the best tennis of her life on a surface that she has just shown translates beautifully to her game. The clay season has only just started. This is the first chapter of what could be a really significant stretch for AlexEala's career. Linz feeds directly into Stuttgart, then Madrid, then Rome, then Roland Garros. Every match she wins here builds her ranking, builds her confidence on this surface, and builds the case that she is not just a hardcourt player with one good run behind her, but a genuine all-surface competitor developing in real time. Today, she walked onto a clay court in Austria for the first time this season against the local favorite with a passionate home crowd, and she won with authority and grace. Tomorrow, she faces a former champion of this tournament on a surface that champion knows well, and the story of AlexEala's clay season is just getting started. What did you make of today's performance? Was it the dominant statement you were expecting, or did the level she showed surprise you? And tomorrow, against Ostapenko, who do you think wins that match? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is worth having, and the next match comes around fast.